Well, hello, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment's Tuesday morning's mindfulness gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. My name is Greg Topakian. I'm filling in for Suzanne, who cannot make it today. So I have big shoes to fill. I also have the opportunity to lead the mindfulness meditation piece of this program, so I'm looking forward to that. So wonderful to be here with you, to have this opportunity to practice mindfulness together and to explore how mindfulness can help us live our lives. Now, as Suzanne usually does, I have typed in a question in the chat box for each of you to consider, and you're invited to contemplate it and to respond. I hope that you do. The question is, do you believe in the benefits of patience? That patience is a quality of mind worthy of cultivating? And if you do, what do you do to nourish patience so that it's more likely to arise in your life? So I hope you feel invited to share your thoughts with the group. And what I'll do in the meantime is I'll share a few thoughts about that while the chats come in. And then I will lead you in a 10 to 15 minute practice on patience. My first memory of patience as a young person is hearing the phrase patience is a virtue, and still not being quite sure what patience was or even what a virtue was. So I was just observing life and trying to learn. And what I saw was I didn't see too much patience in action. So I was a little bit confused. On the one hand, patience is a virtue. On the other hand, I didn't, according to what I thought patience meant, I wasn't seeing too much of it. So I didn't know how to complete that circle, so to speak, and the exploration of life continued. It was only when I became an adult that I began to see the benefits of perhaps cultivating patience. So getting all types of uh, responses in the chat box. Let's see if I can manipulate this. I believe it. I have heard time with being patient, but meditating definitely helps. It sure does. Absolutely value patience. Just wish I had more of it. Me too. It has been my daily intention for all of January. Well, good for you. Intentions matter. I used to tell my family patience is a virtue. I didn't have time to wait around for when they were when they were handing it out. Yes. I look at patience like taming the lion within us. It is important to have patience while dealing with others and cultivating the control of the lion. Absolutely. And we all have those lions inside of us. Here's an interesting question, and we'll speak to this today as well. I often struggle with the question to be patient or to patience or action. So does it have to be one or the other? One way to nurture patience for me has been to check my expectations, notice what is going on in my mind and body, and allow the discomfort. Yes, very important point, because our patience will be tested. We're human beings living in the world. And so we need to honor that sometimes the situation will provoke irritation or annoyance. So it's not to deny that. Yes, cultivating patience helps me to be more present. It can also allow those around me to be more present as a result. Absolutely. Not only benefits to ourselves, benefits to those around us. So it's great. Thank you for that. And there's a lot more as well. So, in case you haven't noticed, but I'll speak from my own experience, life does not always give me what I want. And sometimes what it delivers is stuff that I don't want. So is that just me? I think probably not. That's the human condition that we all live in. And so the question comes up when that happens, when we don't get what we want or we get what we don't want, what happens next? What do we do with that? How do we respond? And it seems to me that there are two main ways that we can respond to that. The first is we can try to change everybody else so that we get what we want. And I understand the logic of that, but good luck with that as a strategy, changing everybody else. And the other, although sometimes action in the world is warranted and appropriate. And the other main track is to work with our minds, our own minds and hearts. So that maybe when that initial irritation or annoyance, frustration, or even anger is beginning to be provoked, we can work with it and not be so overwhelmed by it. And ironically, and this is a hypothesis for each of us, perhaps we're even more effective in engaging in the world when that's the case. So, what we're talking about here with patience is the ability to be calm, the ability to stay composed, the ability to restrain ourselves from actions which may not be helpful, to be tolerant, to be accepting, to be able to withstand momentary discomfort, all of the above. And the evidence is quite clear that there are tremendous benefits, and I think we all know this, to cultivating patience, mental and physical health, our relationships with others, creating some space for ourselves to answer the big questions of life. So I'd like you to take just 30 seconds again to ask yourself the question, do you believe in patience? Do any of these benefits speak to you? Okay, so now let's begin to work with our own minds and hearts. But first, I'd just like to say, just to be clear, patience is not about being passive, not about being a doormat for others to walk all over. It's not about just resigning ourselves to a life of disappointment or pain. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's an active engagement in life. It's a noble aspiration of working with our own stuff, our own minds and hearts, to help nudge ourselves into ways of being in the world that are more peaceful for ourselves and that other people enjoy also, and more effective as well. So patience is something that we cultivate not out of resignation or passivity, but it's a noble engagement with who we are as people and what we can become. So I'll invite you now to find a comfortable position for yourself. Checking in with the body, noticing momentary sensations, finding a comfortable position for yourself, settling the body, settling the mind, perhaps to initially direct your attention at a single target, an anchor of meditation, the breath, the body, sound, and to consider establishing an intention for this practice of exploring patience. What does patience feel like when I extend it? What does it feel like in the body? What thoughts come up in the mind? What feelings do I feel? An aspiration to be open to this consideration of patience. And what I'm going to invite you to do now is to call up a recent episode in your life where your patience was tested, so to speak, and you were beginning to feel sensations of irritation, annoyance, frustration. How did that appear in your body? How did the body speak to you? How did you notice? What thoughts or stories began showing up in your mind? Were you feeling any impulses to speak or act in certain ways as your patience was tested? And perhaps impatience was arising, frustration, perhaps even anger. And now I'll invite you to stop that video and rewind it all the way back to the beginning. And what we're going to do is play it again in slow motion and give ourselves the chance to edit this tape. In other words, we're going to actually practice patience. And it's by this practice that we can cultivate new habits in mind and heart, nervous system, actually practicing. So I'll invite you now to press the slow motion button on the video in your mind. And the first invitation is for you and me to recognize the sensations of irritation, annoyance, as they first arise. How does it show up for you? Belly, the head, the back, thoughts. Just to notice. This is the awareness piece, the first component of mindfulness. Just noticing what's present in this moment of irritation. Second step is I'm going to invite you and me to engage what's sometimes called a mindful pause or wise restraint. The spirit of this step is to help each one of us, to help me, to help you in this moment of irritation, to check our impulses so we do not contribute to additional harm to ourselves or to others. Wise restraint. Perhaps you tap into that by turning attention back to breathing or to the body. The third step in this practice is to accept what's happened to us as true. We're not going to deny the irritation, to push it under the rug, and hopefully neither are we to act on it. But we acknowledge, we accept that irritation is present, and we honor the feelings and thoughts that have arisen. Perhaps we engage in a practice like it's okay. Recognize these sensations. They're familiar. They're uncomfortable, but they're not dangerous. And the last step in this practice is to offer kindness and caring, compassion to ourselves in these moments of irritation and annoyance. May I offer kindness to myself, just as I would to others. May I care for myself. May I remember all the good wishes that the people who care for me send to me. May I be kind. And now I'm going to invite you to repeat this four-step process. I'll give you a minute for each of the steps. The first step is to recognize. Recognize the sensation, the thoughts, pairing with this irritation. And the second step, to engage in a mindful pause, a wise restraint. In the spirit of not contributing to harm or pain, oneself or others. Turning attention back to breathing or to the body. And the third step is to accept that it's true, not to deny it, not to repress it, not to brush it under the rug. It's human, it's natural to have sensations and thoughts arise which are uncomfortable at times. It's okay, not dangerous. And the last step, to offer kindness and caring to yourself in this time of challenge. Not to self-criticize, not to judge. Humans, irritation arises. Patience is tested at times. May I offer kindness. May I be inspired to work with this. And I'll count backwards from 3. And when I get to 1, I'll invite you to complete the meditation, reopen your eyes, and come back to the group and to offer any comments or questions in the chat box. We'd love to see it. 3, 2, 1. So what's happening now? What do you notice now? Mind, body, and heart. What do you believe about the benefits of patience? Might it be worthwhile? Some offerings in the chat box. Whenever I encounter a test of my patience, I remind myself, well, I must have needed another lesson in patience today. Beautiful way to look at it. Life is going to give us all these opportunities, isn't it? And can we engage with it in that way? This practice is amazingly helpful. I hope so. It's helpful to me. We're trying to settle the mind down. We're honoring that irritation has arisen, right? That it's a normal reaction to life. But that suggests the importance of that second step, the mindful pause. Can we train ourselves to then pause rather than to act in reactive ways to the impulse? This practice helps me to recognize that I get stuck on the third step of accepting it as true. Yeah, we don't want to believe that. We don't want to accept it, do we? We want to think maybe that we're above all that, or geez, I've been practicing all these years and I still get irritated. Well, good luck with that, right? That's what it's like to be a human being. The question is, can we notice? Can we notice the impulse to speak or act in harmful ways, unwholesome ways, unskillful ways, and to check that impulse? And we can help ourselves in many steps by practice. Instructions on self-kindness is helpful. Yes, it is, because we don't want to use this practice to beat up on ourselves. Rather, we want to use it as inspiration. We can change. The science is consistent with that. We can cultivate new habits of mind and heart. Another person writes, I don't want to accept the other person's feelings or actions as they are at that point. Sure, we want them to change. They're wrong. And maybe they should change, but we know that we can't force other people to change like that. In fact, it's enough of a challenge just to help ourselves to evolve. Someone else writes, I have always loved the gap. I've always loved the phrase, mindfulness widens the gap between impulse and actions. Absolutely. There's a gap there, right? There's a space. The psychologist Viktor Frankl wrote about that about 80 years ago. Between the stimulus, there's a space. Between stimulus and action, there's a space. But we need to cultivate that space to remind ourselves there's a space there. This is such a robust topic for us to explore. It's right on the edge of working on ourselves, promoting more peace and joy in our own lives, and also to be more effective in life, not to pour gasoline on a testy situation. So may you have good fortune in exploring the work with patience. So if we could have a moment together just to close, that would be wonderful. I invite you to close your eyes, come into the present moment, checking in with the body, calling your aspiration, your intention for this morning. Explore patience. May you all be healthy. May you all be well. Thank you for the opportunity of exploring mindfulness with you this morning. Hope to see you again soon. Take care.